All right, what is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome in if you're new. In this video, we're going to be talking about PulseChain, and more specifically, the HEX PLS rate and how that changes versus time. Now, obviously, we don't have an actual price for PLS, but we do have a rate for which we can extrapolate certain values. Okay, so leave a thumbs up if you like this kind of PulseChain content. I see all sorts of creators starting to make more PulseChain and Hex content. Maybe they see the engagement is huge, the community is amazing, price is going up. There's not much else going on in crypto. Let's just be real. So it's kind of interesting to see. But hey, we've been here from the start, so we just keep it real here. And let's go ahead and jump into what I've made for you guys. So I want to start off, first of all, by showing you guys this Richard Hart stream today, where he's actually on LookIntoHex.com talking about LookIntoHex.com/PLS, which is the PulseChain sacrifice portion of the website, which we just actually launched like a few days ago. So yeah, I whipped this up real quick for you guys. But the following commentary is on this chart, specifically your cost basis versus time. Check it out.
It's got various different.
Oh, I know what he's doing. I know what he's doing. Smart bugger. So he's trying to compare how much harm you endure from the rate increasing, but how much benefit you might get from better volume rewards.
Correct. And so I replied here, your interpretation is correct. That second chart, meaning this one here, it shows you your rate per point denominated in US dollars, right? This chart here knows about both the time curve and the volume curve. And that's the reason we plotted a spectrum of volume multipliers ranging from 1 to 2.5x, right? And you can get an idea of what your cost basis versus time is if you are a little guy, an average guy, or a whale. And you can definitely see that on the last 3 days, the volume curve just becomes a flat 1.75x, meaning it becomes everyone's an average sized sacrifice that day. And you can even see that through the continuity of the green curve, right? The 1.75x average guy. And for that guy, it's pretty much just a continuous curve, right? There's no kind of sharp change there. So that's what that is. Thank you so much for the shout out, Richard. And let's go ahead and continue on with the charts I made for you guys. So if you normalize something like Hex ROI to these bonding curves, right? Or this cost basis takes into account both bonding curves. So just remember that this chart knows about both bonding curves. So if you normalize your Hex ROI starting from day one of sacrifice to your cost basis, you get something that looks like this, right? So it's pretty much how many 10K pulse you get per dollar of day one of sac hex, if that makes sense. So we already seen this, but what's kind of new is something I plotted for you guys here on my Google Sheets. I might add this to the site if you guys want. Leave a comment down below. It's pretty similar though. The chart I'm going to show you, it's very similar, and it's your hex pulse rate versus time, which essentially says for every hex, how much PLS are you getting? So at the beginning, right, it was about 1387 pulse per hex, or hex per pulse. Wait, hold on. Let me get this right. Yeah, at the beginning it was 1387 pulse per hex, right? 'Cause pulse is quote unquote cheaper. Okay. And then it reached a point where you were getting 1648 pulse per hex. Yeah, that's right. It's just throwing me off a little bit. That's why you have the inverse one here as well. So this is how many PLS a hex is worth. So it's not confuse you guys. It's like an ETH BTC ratio, right? Where the ETH BTC ratio tells you what the price of ETH is relative to Bitcoin, right? So this tells you what the price of hex is relative to PLS. So you saw that we had a spike, and it corresponds to your sacrificing power, right? It's pretty much just your rate versus time. We had the spike here when one hex would more or less get you 1648 PLS. And now that's obviously much lower, about 1258 PLS. Now, if you flip it, then you see that PLS is getting more expensive over time. You could look at it this way, where it started out at about 72,000 hearts per pulse and dipped down to about 60,000 hearts per pulse. And then now we approached about 80,000 hearts per pulse. And a heart is just a 100 millionth, right? A heart is 100 millionth of a hex. So I don't know, I thought that was pretty interesting because we can chart later on, and I actually might do this later, chart the ETH BTC rate versus time during its sacrifice period, which actually brings me to this right here. I really, really, really wanted to point this out because this is an article from years ago talking about the Ethereum sale, right? The Ether sale. And I've talked about this in a previous video called I think it was PulseChain versus Ethereum launch mechanics or launch phase or something like that. I'll leave a link here so you can check that out. But we essentially cover this topic that Ethereum had a similar phase where you could sacrifice your BTC in exchange for Ether. And there was a bonding curve here as well. There was no volume bonding curve, but there was a time bonding curve. Let me see if I can find it in this article just to highlight it real quick and show you guys that it went from a flat rate of about, what was it, like 2,000 ETH per BTC, flat rate for the first like 1 to 12 days, I believe. I mean, here's one example. They kind of give you an anecdote, but each Bitcoin purchased 2,000 Ether, right? Making the cost of one Ether about 29 cents. Because at the time, Bitcoin was, I think, about $600 or so. Yeah, and then over the course of the phase, of the sacrifice phase, where you could sack your BTC for Ether later, there was the price of Bitcoin went from like $600 to like $500, while the curve went from a flat rate of 2,000 ETH per BTC down to like 1337 ETH per BTC. I think they talk about it here. They definitely do in the article written by Vitalik himself. Again, if you check out that video I linked earlier, you'll see that. But what's the point of all of this? What am I actually getting at, right? What I'm getting at is that they raised about $20 million, right, in the Ether sale. They raised about $20 million. Here it is. By the end of the sale, people behind those jumbled addies had bought more than 60 million Ether, which at around 30 cents per coin amounted to about $18.3 million. They only got like 37,000 BTC. Right? The BTC sacrifice address only got about 35,000 BTC, which at the time, again, $500 to $600 per BTC, puts you at about 18, 20 million bucks. Look at the PulseChain sacrifice addy. $530 million. So, if Ethereum, the sale of the century, was only able to raise 20 million bucks, and you have PulseChain that raised 500 million bucks, Ether went from 15 pennies to $4,000, $4,500. So 30,000x. What about the thing that raised 25 times as much money? Gets you thinking, doesn't it? So if Ethereum was the sale of the century, then damn, this year, sale of the millennium. I don't know, man. Call it what you will, but there is a lot of money that has been raised into the sacrifice address, and we are only at this phase right here. So, I mean, you could argue that maybe the majority of your coins have entered because people are trying to avoid the steep increase in rate, sure, but we still see dozens of millions of dollars entering every day. So, I mean, we'll see over the course of the rest of these 12, 13 days what happens, how much total is accumulated. I'm betting on $1 billion being in here by the end of sacrifice phase, if not more. $1 billion USD cash sacrifice. So at that point in time, it will have been a 50x compared to the Ether raise of 20 million bucks. So again, if something went 30,000x and raised X amount of money, the thing that raises 50x amount of money, can that thing do 1 million X. I mean, Bitcoin did 6 million X, so it's not out of the cards. Um, One more thing I wanted to point out is the sheer amount of hex that has been sacrificed and sitting just dormant in the sacrifice address, because the rest of the coins are being dumped. They're being dumped for stables, but hex is just sitting pretty, 2.6 billion. And when I saw that number, it made me think, what is there any address that holds more? Yeah, but not many. Not many. Let's actually reload this to get you real-time data. Still in number 13 spot. What is this list? This is your top hex holders. So currently, the sacrifice address to which people are sacrificing their coins for a potential for, future airdrop of PLS. That address currently is the top 13 holder of Hex cryptocurrency. Think about it, the top holder is only about 3 billion coins, and this has been increasing very rapidly. So I think it's pretty easy to see a scenario where this address, the sacrifice addy, raises over 3 billion at by the end of sacrifice phase. I expect this address here to be number one, and that's just based on the projection, right? The projection I see. So will it split up its coins to various daughter addresses, kind of like the OA did? Maybe. Might it just sit there and be the top holder of Hex with coins that just never move, similar to Satoshi? Maybe. Maybe. We see this in Ethereum as well. Just ETH billionaires as like the number 4 holder. Like I think you have certain exchange cold wallets, like top 3 holders, and then number 4 is just, could be one dude. Could be one dude just sitting on billions of dollars worth of Ethereum. Who might that be? I don't know. But hey, this is fantastic in terms of what we're seeing, right? In terms of what we're seeing in how much money's been sacrificed compared to what's being forked, right? How much did that raise? Ethereum raised 20 million bucks. PulseChain is on track to raise close to $1 billion bucks. Better feature set, beating ETH 2.0 to market. Just the potential is extraordinary in my opinion. But yeah, maybe in the next video I'll show you guys a comparison between this kind of hex pulse rate versus time during the course of sacrifice phase to the Ethereum ETH BTC rate versus time during their sort of sacrifice phase. So that, I think that'd be cool to see, kind of if the timing is similar. I mean, ETH launched in a bear market. We're launching in a bear market technically. Yeah, I'll compare in the next video. I think there are enough similarities to warrant a full video on that. But as for this video, I mean, I think I've said what I need to say. Interpret it as you will. None of this is financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, all that good stuff. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Should I, like, it's a bit redundant, if I'm going to be honest, to add these to the website, because your hex pulse rate versus time is very, very similar to your hex sacrifice power versus time. Pretty much the same thing, right? This one just doesn't take into account volume, but it could, right? So I mean, there's a lot to play with here, a lot of charts you can look at. Again, this is just inverse, so maybe this would be a cool one to show, like your, you know, how many hearts per pulse. Maybe it's pretty cool. But yeah, guys, let me know what you think below. Leave a thumbs up to spread this content. I think we're in the algo by now, boys. I think we're being pushed to new users, so let's keep doing that. Get to 4K subs, all that good stuff. But yeah, guys, appreciate the shout out from Richard. Go ahead and follow on Twitter as well. We're growing on there as well. So I tweet stuff that you might not see on YouTube. So go ahead and check that out. Other than that, I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.